I'm Jon Sicotte, Executive Editor of the Brewer Magazine. Welcome to another edition of the Brewer Magazine podcast. We are sponsored by Keg Logistics. You can go to keglogistics.com/brewermag for more details. And of course, you can find the Brewer Magazine podcast on both YouTube and Spotify. In fact, you might have noticed you can see us now on Spotify. You can watch the video on both of those platforms and listen as well. All right, well, we are going to go back to the May-June issue of this past year for our Brewer Magazine podcast. Smith Mathews discussed his journey from working at Sweetwater Brewery to founding Southbound Brewing, Savannah, Georgia in 2013. Now, initially, Southbound operated with a 3-barrel system and faced some challenges due to Georgia's brewing laws. So in 2014, finally, the tap brew law was changed. In 2015, they could sell beer over the bar. Now, post-COVID, distribution became tougher, and Hop Atomica was able to launch in 2019 with a focus on retail sales and experimental brewing while producing 150 different types of recipes annually. They also started distilling, adding craft cocktails and spirits, and now Hop Atomica's success is attributed to a blend of beer, food, and spirits and a strong team. And Smith shared with me on how going from production back to a smaller scale has been a welcome business path for him. Now, here's a snippet of our chat for the cover story that ran in the May-June issue of Brewer Magazine called "A Side Hustle No More. Smith Mathews Sees Growth Through Hop Atomica's Business Model." Check it out here on the Brewer Magazine podcast. This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency. You know, kind of the beginning of even why you got into brewing or being a brewery owner. I mean, what was that starting block for you guys?
Well, for me personally, I was, kind of started working at a brewery, Sweetwater, in college. I was going to school at Georgia Tech, studying aerospace engineering. Realized I didn't want to be an aerospace engineer, and that beer was way cooler. You know what I mean? So, got a job at a brewery, Sweetwater, and then just worked my way up there, packaging line, taproom staff. Graduated from college, went to Scalable Institute for brewing, and once I graduated from there, I came back as a brewer at Sweetwater, and so that just kind of like solidified the deal that I wanted to open a brewery and run a brewery, one day. And then I brewed at another place in Charleston for a while, and then went to open up Southbound.
Nice.
So
when it comes to like starting a business, I mean, you come from somewhere. Do you get like, are you telling Freddie or asking him like, what do I do? Like, are you finding from other people? Like, what was your inspirations in business ownership?
Yeah, I mean, I would cut. Freddie, I would, talk to him sometimes about it, but his partner back then, I was talking to him a lot, Kevin, and then, and just kind of getting some inspiration from that. It's funny, actually, Freddie told me not to do it, which is pretty hilarious. Looking back on it, I'm like, maybe I should have taken his advice. No, I'm just kidding. No, I love it. But they're just great. They were great people, and had a lot to offer, and were willing to teach you all about all about the business and the production, and even like had an opportunity to do marketing and that kind of stuff, because everybody was wearing a bunch of hats back then. So we were able to do a little bit of everything. So I learned kind of the business and how everything worked there, and then through my experience with my next job, and then then we just kind of went for it.
And when you first opened Southbound, how was it opened? Like, what was it, just bare bones?
It was pretty bare bones. Production facility. We opened straight out of the gate with a 30-barrel 4-vessel, system with 60-barrel fermenters. So we were, that was when Georgia laws weren't as conducive to breweries as they are today. And so you had to be a production facility to ever have any shot at like making money or making it work, right?
Yeah.
And there weren't a ton of breweries in Georgia. I think we were like license number 4 or something in Georgia, 4 or 5 maybe. So for production only breweries, not brew pub license, our brewers notice. We just really just kind of went for like put the brand together, all DIY. There weren't like these super fancy brewery marketing companies and consultants to show you how to do it, and it was just really a level of combined experiences of how to set the company up. I knew how to make the beer, I knew the equipment, and then learning the intricate 3-tier distribution system in Georgia, so those restrictions, and so we didn't even have a tap room or anything, because the tap room, first of all, the city of Savannah didn't even allow breweries to have tap rooms. So we had to figure out how to get that changed. And then, so it was just a warehouse and tanks. That's what we had, and we started making beers, and the beers were good, and we started selling them, so.
And that was 2013?
That was 2013, yeah.
Yeah. When did it finally change the law? Like it was a couple years later, right?
Yeah, we got the tap room law changed in like 2014 here, and then the Georgia laws changed where we could sell beer in like 2015 or 2016, I believe.
Yeah.
So, that was a game changer where we could sell a pint across the bar. It was good, but the thing is, like looking back at it, we were set up to be a production facility.
Right.
We didn't build out a super swanky tap room. That wasn't our business model, and with our location there too. It is it's not really taproom savvy, you know what I mean? And so we're literally going old school, building a bar around a cooler, like the good old breweries do, and like those are the ones like I would seek out now.
Yeah.
But it's like now if you don't have food in the tap room, it's just times have changed. But yeah, that's how we set it up. We built a bar around the tap room. We did some crowdfunding to build a handicap ramp and put a bar in, and it was literally so simple of just like a couple taps on the wall, old school bar that we built, and people were coming out and drinking beers.
And it's a learning experience for what you have here now at Hop Atomica, right?
Totally different.
Yeah
For sure. Yeah. We're basically at Hop Atomica, we're the exact opposite of that. Polar opposite. So we learned that with that model, the name of the game is distribution, right? Wholesale sales. That's where your bread and butter is, And then with Hop Atomica, we wanted to do, retail sales, margins are better. The batches are smaller. We can have fun as brewers, and we're not just shift brewing. At Southbound, we shift brew, where it's like, you might be doing doubles, triples, back to back to back every day. So you're literally shift brewing the same beers all the time, And so we'd have fun with like our pilot system over there for like the taproom beers, But this model gives us an opportunity to really diversify, our brewing, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah. How are you still pretty hands-on with everything here? When it comes to recipe development and how you want everything to be?
So, not as hands-on as like I was, starting it up, because we have some amazing staff. But we trained all of them ourselves, and so what we did here was, I established like base recipes, and I'm still really pretty hands-on with the recipe formulation. Erin, our head brewer, she will bounce ideas off of me, and she's really come a long way from like, just learning the 4 ingredients to now she's getting into water chemistry, and I'm kind of like, guiding her on, on a lot of that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I'm definitely still hands-on in the beer. I haven't brewed by hands-on, like being like personally brewed a batch of beer here. It's been, it hasn't been more than a year, but it's been, we do. We get back there sometimes, and it always is fun when we get back there. But
Sure.
it is a lot to manage too. I mean, now you have like a food concept, and we're doing distilling too, which is taking up a lot of time, and we are very hands-on on all of that.
Yeah.
So the day-to-day brewing operations, not as much as I was.
Yeah. Well, let's get it. Like, again, I'm sure everything that you did at Southbound taught you what you wanted from it. I mean, when did it say, we're going to have a distillery, we're going to have food, it's going to be a smaller system, it's going to be a lot more experimental?
Yep.
All those things, like, is it the industry changing that made you do that? Or was it something that you're like, you know what Southbound did was great, but, like, this is where I see us going from here?
I would say both.
Yeah.
So the industry has changed significantly. The days of the regional craft breweries, Southbound scale, those days are kind of limited. I'm not going to say that they're over, and I think that they might actually resurge. But you had a lot of players getting in the game, that flooded the market with, in my opinion, like subpar beers, and I think that may have turned some consumers away, and it also turned, like, a lot of our business with Southbound is like chain grocery and chain convenience stores and massive on-premise, draft programs and all of these things, But as the distribution, has changed, especially like post-COVID, it's totally different now than it was. That model is tougher now in our state. There's several states that is still working really well in, but in our state with our 3-tier restrictions, we have no control over who buys our beer. We can't sell our beer. We can only sell it to our distributor.
Yeah.
Then it's out of our control. And if they're focused on something else, or if somebody else is paying, a monthly bonus opportunity, bonuses, or paying their teams to focus on their brands, they're not focused on that. So it's kind of like a pay-to-play, game. And so the beauty about Hop Atomica is we don't have to deal with any of that shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's not even a factor in our business model. We do distribute a limited amount of our spirits, but it's just like select accounts, relationships that we built and, kind of put into place. But sometimes we'll distribute some beer. We would like to distribute more beer, here, but again, you're starting to deal with that 3-tier system, and it's just, it is what it is.
This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency. Speaking of marketing for it, what was the logo? What was the thought? Like the 30-second elevator pitch of what Hop Atomica is all about.
Honestly, it is all derived off of this building. This building is a early 1950s like service station, and it's got crazy like angular windows and and all of this stuff going on, and that is like the height of the atomic era. Where like microwaves are coming out and like nuclear power and like all of these things, right? Everything is like very sciencey. Like look at the styles of the cars; they look like freaking spaceships, from the 50s. So like the Bel Airs and it's all swoopy and everything. So they call that the atomic era, and that's kind of what we saw in this building. And so we just kind of added hop because of beer. Why not? And it kind of flows. Everybody gets really confused by that, but you remember it. It's very catchy, it's sticky, and so and then with the the branding itself is very kind of like atomic, or like a little like retro 1950s. But then like we have like this circle emblem logo, which is just essentially like mid-century modern like hop cone, upside down hop cone. Basically what it is.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's go into the distilling side. When did you, decide that you wanted to do that, and how does it benefit creating another piece of a business for you guys within here? I'm sure it's not exactly it's not the money driver here, but it's great to be able to, again, bring in more consumers than you would have without it.
Exactly. So we were running it with just beer only, and it was just beer and non-alcoholics for like a solid year, right? And then we looked into the dual alternating proprietorship, being a brewery and distillery. And with going back to our Georgia 3-tier law, we're a manufacturer in the manufacturing tier here. So a distillery and a brewery are in the same tier, Technically a winery is too, but that's a whole different concept in Georgia. But so we are allowed to have a brewery and distillery. And we really needed to increase our bar program, to offer more stuff than just beer, because let's face it, like not everybody drinks craft beer, right? Yeah. But most people drink spirits, or if they're drinking, you might have a spirits drinker and a beer drinker, The wine drinkers are just SOL, but, it's not really that, it's not that bad, not offering wine, but so we took, our limited knowledge of distillation, and there's a lot of crossover with brewing, and so, we bought a still, got a federal DSP, and then started making runs. And with enough research, we're brewers. We know processes. We know how to do a lot of the same stuff. And there's enough information online that you can get pretty close your first time.
Yeah.
Like we had to do a couple runs to get our feet wet. But now it's expanded into a whole program. We're offering multiple gins. We do rums and some whiskeys and vodka and, agave spirit and all kinds of stuff. And we're, our head brewer, Erin, has really kind of gotten into the distillation too. And she's learned that a lot. And she is, she's a super foodie, and has a lot of background in pastry, being a pastry chef and all that. So she actually has been doing these gins where it's like local forage gin. So she'll go around to the different seasons and forage things around the city of Savannah, and then actually make gin out of all the botanicals that she's foraging that's in bloom right now. Yeah. So she just did a winter gin and we did a spring gin, and we're integrating all that into our craft cocktails, so we've got a really great craft cocktail program here. We've got an amazing bar manager and staff that has really got it dialed, so it's not a prominent feature here, but it's growing too. We're seeing more and more people come back for our craft cocktails, so, and we're selling spirits bottles to go, so we can do that here, which is kind of cool. Really? So you can come in here and buy your vodka if you want to, but it's a good, we get a fair amount of tourists here. It is a big neighborhood presence, but tourists like to bring a bottle of spirits home with them.
Absolutely.
But it's a good program, and we really enjoy it, and it just kind of gives you that full service restaurant, brewery, brew pub feel, while still being in the manufacturer tier and not the retail tier. Because a brew pub license would be in the retail tier, but the drawback is we can't have Jim Beam or something behind the bar. Sure. We have everything we sell here we have to make or we have to source ourselves.
Gotcha. But financially, do you see this being the more viable option going forward? Like you said, it's a lot of breweries are doing. I think you see the success in smaller. Do you like taking that step back from that 30-barrel brew house idea to be able to sit here and go, this is where it is now?
Yeah, the cool thing about Southbound 30-barrel 4-vessel system, I love that thing, and it's had a lot of Siemens automation, and just as a beer brewer, dude, we just love that thing, and so it'll never be the same. because all the gizmos and gadgets and all that, it's just so cool. But you can spend a 12-hour brew day and brew a double batch of beer at Southbound and sell it for enough money that you would make in a week here, in theory.
Right.
But there's so much overhead that goes into that, that it's, the margins here are so much better, and so this, as long as you do this model and this concept well, and you're offering good, consistent product, good beers, good food consistently, good service. It's a lot of moving parts, here. Probably more moving parts here than like a production Southbound model. But the parts here are smaller and cheaper, and they're easier to fix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This model just is very successful, and it works well. But I don't think it's for everyone,
Yeah.
Like your most classic brewers don't necessarily want to deal with kitchen staff, or bar staff, or you know what I mean. They just want to make beer and hang out,
Yeah.
Which that was me at one point, But if you can do this, and you have a knack for it, then I do see this being the successful model. And I think really more so it's like you have somebody who is like a restaurateur, and you have a brewer, and they have somebody running the beer side, and then you have the restaurateur running the restaurant side. And we just had to develop, since we're beer people, we had to develop our restaurateur skills on the fly without screwing it up, And so that's what we've done, and it's like worked out.
Nice.
We've had to learn it,
Yeah. How do you balance the two businesses as a day-to-day operation? I mean, do you see how does that cut down for you?
Yeah, for the most part, I will come here in the mornings and kind of take care of some of the day-to-day stuff here, and then wrap up afternoons at Southbound.
Okay.
And so like I might have lunch here and then go over to Southbound for like the rest of the day or something. So it's a pretty even split. It just also depends on workload.
Yeah.
There might be some days, like several days in a row that I'm not here, and then I'm at Southbound, or vice versa. But as we're moving equipment out and that kind of thing at Southbound, it's it's going to ebb and flow a little bit more than normal, but having another key of having like amazing staff is that you can rely on those people to continue the operations, here, and keep things going, and not have to worry about it, or you having to constantly babysit, and we haven't always had that. We had to get to that point. We had to figure out all the wrong ways of doing it to figure out the right way, and we understand that right way now and what it takes for those people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're fortunate though, man. I mean, like we can go, my brother and I can go on vacation together, for a week or two and come back and everything will be exactly how we left it.
Yeah.
And keep running.
How do your roles differ from what Southbound was, and for Brad as well? It's just like how you guys, because I'm sure it's not the exact same hat that you're wearing over there that you're wearing over here.
It's not, no. Yeah. He and I mean, it's some of the same hat, same roles, but he's an operations, mechanical guy, and so he's like, he always kept the facilities. He always keeps the facilities running, right? And a lot of stuff breaks all the time, especially in the restaurant game too. You're always having coolers go down, but you can just run to the store and get another one, usually, or on Amazon it'll be here in like a day, so that's nice. But with the equipment, it's just bigger at Southbound, and more expensive to repair, and so he manages like a lot of that, and but he and I are pretty 50-50 on business strategy, but then I'm like the nuts and bolts business guy on the behind the scenes, so I'm doing all the finance, all of the admin, all of the that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I've got the, beer background, so I'm kind of driving, like, helping Aaron drive product development or beer development and spirits and all that kind of stuff. But Pratt is actually all really involved in the spirits too. So, we just wear a bunch of different hats. It's like whatever we're kind of interested in, we tend to specialize in. And so we just kind of tend to do those roles. So.
This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency.